My husband left our wedding night for his mistress. 7 days later, I was gone. At 11:42 on my wedding night, my husband's phone lit up with another woman's name. Rebecca, Emergency. Daniel Mercer stared at the screen so long that the champagne fizzing beside us went flat. We're still in our wedding clothes. My ivory dress was draped across the hotel carpet, and Daniel stood near the window in his white shirt and black tuxedo pants, his bow tie hanging loose around his neck. Less than 6 hours earlier, he had promised to choose me every day for the rest of his life. Then he answered the phone. Becca? His face changed immediately. What hospital? I felt something cold move through me. Daniel turned away, lowering his voice, but the suite was too quiet for secrets. Stay there. I'm coming. He ended the call and reached for his jacket. What happened? I asked as she fainted at her studio. She's at Grant Medical. They think it might be her heart. Doesn't she have a sister? She's out of state. A friend? She called me. It was the answer he gave, as though that explained everything. Stood barefoot beside the bed, still wearing the pearl earrings Daniel had given me that morning. Daniel, this is our wedding night. His jaw tightened. I know what night it is, Claire. Then don't leave. He looked at me with an expression I would remember long after I stopped remembering the flowers, the music, or the way he had smiled when I walked down the aisle. You don't understand, he said. I promised her father I'd always look out for her. Then my husband walked out of our bridal suite and went to the woman he swore was only an old friend. For several minutes, I did not move. My reflection stared back at me from the dark hotel window. 48 years old. Newly married. Abandoned before midnight. I reached up, removed my earrings, and placed them carefully beside Daniel's wedding ring box. Then I picked up my phone and opened the location-sharing app he had insisted we use for safety. His blood was already moving toward the hospital. Watched until it disappeared from the screen, and for the first time since I had met him, I stopped trying to explain his behavior in a way that would hurt me less. Daniel returned at 5:16 in the morning. I was sitting in an armchair wearing the hotel robe, with a cup of untouched coffee on the table beside me. The sky over downtown Columbus had begun to turn gray. He entered quietly, as though he were coming home late from work rather than returning to the woman he had married the day before. Claire? I looked at him. His shirt was wrinkled. His hair was flattened on one side, and there was a faint streak of pale pink lipstick near his collar. He saw me looking at it and rubbed the spot. It's not what you think. I almost laughed. That sentence had probably ended more marriages than adultery itself. How is she? Daniel exhaled and set his jacket over a chair. It was a panic attack. They ran tests. Her heart is fine. Then why were you there for 5 hours? She was scared. So was I. His eyes finally met mine. I told you I had to go. No. You told me you chose to go. That's not fair. I looked toward the unmade bed. Only one side had been slept in. What would fair have looked like, Daniel? He pressed both hands against his face. I can't do this right now. I've been awake all night. So have I. That's different. There it was, not an apology. Not regret, just the quiet assumption that his exhaustion mattered more than mine. He walked toward the bathroom. We'll talk after I shower. I watched him close the door. A few weeks earlier, I would have followed him. I would have demanded an explanation, then softened when he became defensive. I would have reminded myself that Rebecca Shaw was part of Daniel's past, not his present. Had spent 4 years being reasonable. That morning, I did something different, opened my phone and took a screenshot of his location history. Grant Medical Center from midnight until 1:23 at Rebecca's condominium building from 1:41 until 4:58. When Daniel came out of the bathroom, I was making a second pot of coffee. He stopped in the doorway. Are you all right? No, the honesty seemed to surprise him. He sat across from me. I can explain. Please do. He folded his hands. Rebecca was discharged around 1:30. She was still shaky, so I drove her home. And stayed more than 3 hours. She didn't want to be alone. So you stayed? Yes. What did you do? Daniel looked toward the window. I made tea. We talked. She fell asleep on the couch. And you? I sat in a chair. Did you touch her? His mouth tightened. I held her hand at the hospital. Did you kiss her? No, the answer came quickly enough that it might have been true. Do you love her? He stared at me. Claire, I married you. That wasn't my question. He stood. I'm not doing this interrogation on our first morning as husband and wife. Our first morning began when you walked through that door. I was helping someone who had a medical emergency. You went home with her. She has nobody. She had my husband. The words silenced him. For a moment, something like shame crossed his face. Then it disappeared beneath irritation. You knew Rebecca would always be part of my life. I knew she designed kitchens for your company. I knew you dated when you were 23. I knew you claimed the relationship had been over for 25 years. It has been. Then why is she still your emergency? Daniel's phone buzzed on the table. We both looked down. A message from his mother appeared on the screen. How is Rebecca? Did Claire make a scene? Daniel grabbed the phone so fast he nearly knocked over his coffee. I stared at him. Your mother knew? She knew Rebecca was at the hospital. She knew before I did? That's not important. It is to me. My mother worries about everyone. No. Your mother worries about Rebecca. Daniel pushed his chair back. Claire, please. We have a flight at 3. Let's go home, pack the last few things, and try to salvage our honeymoon. I had planned every detail of that honeymoon. 6 days in Charleston, a small hotel near the Battery, reservations at restaurants Daniel had wanted to try, and one afternoon with no plans at all, he reached for my hand and moved it away. I'm not going to Charleston today. His expression hardened. You're canceling our honeymoon because I helped a friend? I'm not punishing you. I need time to think. This is exactly what my mother warned me about. The sentence slipped out before he could stop it. I leaned back. What did Helen warn you about? Daniel looked away. That you sometimes shut down instead of talking. I have been talking for 20 minutes. You know what I mean. Yes, I said. I think I finally do. We drove home separately. Our wedding had been held at a restored brick venue near German Village. The house we returned to sat 20 minutes north, on a quiet street lined with maple trees and older colonials. It was my house, had bought it 12 years earlier after my first marriage ended. I raised my daughter, Anna, there through high school and college. I paid down the mortgage with money from my physical therapy practice and finally paid it off 2 years before meeting Daniel. When Daniel moved in, he insisted on contributing to utilities and groceries. He told me he respected what I had built. You'll never have to worry that I'm with you for security, he had said. At the time, I thought the comment was romantic. That morning, it returned to me as a warning I had failed to hear. Daniel carried his suitcase inside and left it near the stairs. I'm going to the shop. On Sunday? I have to deal with a supplier issue. Is Rebecca involved? He closed his eyes. Not everything is about Rebecca. Apparently our wedding night was. He grabbed his keys. We'll talk when you're calmer. I watched him walk out again. 10 minutes later, I received a text from Helen Mercer. A strong marriage requires grace, Claire. Daniel has always had a generous heart. Don't start your life together by punishing him for it. Helen was 72, silver-haired, perfectly dressed, and skilled at turning criticism into advice. During our engagement, she had never openly objected to me. Instead, she made small observations. Daniel had always imagined marrying someone who enjoyed entertaining. Daniel's first fiancée had understood his business better. Rebecca made the best Christmas pie. At the rehearsal dinner, Helen had raised her glass and said, Daniel has finally found a woman steady enough to handle him. Everyone laughed, had laughed too. Now I read her message twice before replying. Grace and silence are not the same thing, she answered immediately. Please don't be dramatic. I turned off my phone. Anna arrived shortly after noon, still wearing her hair pinned up from the wedding. At 26, she had my brown eyes and her father's ability to recognize trouble before anyone named it. she found me at the kitchen table surrounded by unopened wedding cards. Why aren't you at the airport? I looked at my daughter. There are moments when a mother wants to protect her child from disappointment, even when that child is grown. I almost lied. Then I remembered how many times Anna had watched me make excuses during my first marriage. Daniel left last night to go to Rebecca. Anna slowly pulled out a chair. His ex? He says she had a panic attack. On your wedding night? Yes. How long was he gone? Until 5. Her face became very still. Mom. I know. No, I don't think you do. Did he come back from the hospital? He took her home. Anna's hand tightened around the strap of her purse and stayed there? I nodded. She stood abruptly. I'm calling him. No, he left you alone on your wedding night for another woman. I was there. Then why are you acting like this is a scheduling problem? Because if I let myself feel everything right now, I'll make a decision before I know what I'm deciding. Anna stared at me. You already know enough. Maybe. Mom, you spent 10 years with Dad telling yourself that emotional neglect wasn't the same as cruelty. Her father, my first husband, had not been unfaithful. He had simply treated our marriage like an appliance that would continue working no matter how rarely he maintained it. Anna sat again. I'm sorry, she said more gently. I just don't want to watch you disappear inside another marriage. The word struck me, disappear. I looked around the kitchen I had chosen, painted, repaired, and paid for. Daniel's coffee mug sat beside the sink. His mail was stacked near the refrigerator. His keys had a hook beside mine. He had entered my life so gradually that I had not noticed how much space I had surrendered. I'm not going to disappear, I said at that moment. I meant emotionally, did not yet know that 7 days later, disappearing physically would be the clearest decision I had ever made. Daniel came home after 9 that night. He carried flowers from the grocery store and a white bakery box. I brought your favorite cheesecake. I looked at the bouquet. Yellow roses. Rebecca's favorite flowers were yellow roses. I knew because she had once posted a photograph of the enormous arrangement Daniel's company sent her after she landed a major design contract. Thank you, I said. He set the box down. Can we start over? No, he flinched. I continued before he could speak. We can talk. We can decide what happens next. But we can't start over. Last night happened. I made a mistake. It was the first time he had used the word. What was the mistake? Leaving. Only leaving? He rubbed the back of his neck. I should have handled it differently. That still isn't an answer. What do you want me to say? The truth. I told you the truth. Then show me your messages with her. His entire body changed. It was small. A shift of weight. A pause before breathing, but I saw it. You want to search my phone? I want you to show me the messages between you and the woman whose hand you held instead of mine on our wedding night. That's invasive. We exchanged vows yesterday. Marriage doesn't erase privacy. No. Affairs do. His face flushed. I am not having an affair. Then unlock the phone. He picked up the flowers and carried them to the sink. I refuse to build a marriage around surveillance. I almost admired how smoothly he moved from defendant to victim. You're right, I said. He turned. I am? Yes. A marriage that requires surveillance isn't much of a marriage. Relief crossed his face too quickly. He thought I was surrendering. Instead, I went upstairs and slept in the guest room. The next morning, Daniel behaved as if the crisis had passed. He made eggs. He asked whether we should reschedule Charleston for the following month. He mentioned thank you notes and wedding photographs. Then, while pouring coffee, he said, the bank moved our meeting to Thursday. I looked up. What bank meeting? He paused. The business financing meeting. I told you about it. No, you didn't. I'm sure I did. You said you were exploring a new line of credit for Mercer Millwork. Right. That doesn't involve me. It might be helpful for you to attend. Why? He added cream to his coffee without looking at me. The bank wants a fuller picture of household assets. We signed a prenuptial agreement keeping our assets separate. This isn't about ownership. It's just reassurance. What kind of reassurance? Claire, can we not make every conversation hostile? I'm asking what the bank wants. He sighed. They may ask whether you'd consider guaranteeing part of the credit line. No, his head lifted. You haven't heard the details. I don't need the details to know I'm not putting my house behind your business. It wouldn't necessarily involve the house. What else would I guarantee it with? My company has assets. Then the company can secure its own loan. Daniel set his cup down. You said marriage was a partnership. It is. That doesn't mean one partner assumes debts the other created before the wedding. You're acting as if I'm asking you to hand over your retirement. I don't know what you're asking because you scheduled a meeting without telling me. We've been busy. We weren't too busy for you to leave our wedding. His chair scraped against the floor. I apologized. You said you made a mistake. What more do you want? An explanation that doesn't insult my intelligence. He stared at me for a long moment, then he grabbed his jacket. I have employees depending on me, Claire. 23 families. I'm trying to protect them. And you need my house to do it? He opened the door. I need my wife to believe in me. After he left, I sat at the table and felt the shape of the conflict change. Until then, Rebecca had been the center of it. Now there was a bank meeting I had never agreed to attend, a loan Daniel had minimized, and a mother-in-law who had known about Rebecca's emergency before I did, called Evelyn Price. Evelyn had been my attorney during the sale of my physical therapy practice's first office building. Over the years, she had become a friend, the kind who brought soup after surgery and told the truth even when it ruined dessert. She answered on the second ring. Aren't you supposed to be in Charleston? I need legal advice. There was a pause. Come to my office. I thought you were working from home today. I am. Come to my house. Evelyn lived in Upper Arlington with 2 elderly beagles and a husband who spent most mornings on the golf course. She listened without interrupting while I described the wedding night, Daniel's refusal to show me his messages, and the bank meeting. When I finished, she removed her glasses. Did you sign anything after the prenup? No. Did you add Daniel to the deed? No. Did you combine retirement accounts? No joint credit cards? One household card with a $5,000 limit. Joint bank account? For utilities and shared expenses. We each transfer money into it. How much is in there? About $18,000. Some of it was for the honeymoon and final wedding expenses. Do not empty it, she said. Move your future income to an account in your name, and keep records of every dollar. You do not want to look like you're hiding marital funds. I'm not planning a divorce. Evelyn's expression did not change. I didn't say you were. I said protect yourself while you decide. She stood and walked to a cabinet. Did Daniel give you financial disclosures before the prenup? Yes. His lawyer sent them. Do you still have them? At home. Find them. Compare them to anything you know now. I don't have access to his business accounts. Don't access anything you aren't authorized to see. But you are entitled to examine joint statements, your own credit reports, and documents he voluntarily gave you. I stared at my hands. What if I'm overreacting? Evelyn sat again. Claire, a man left you on your wedding night to spend hours at another woman's home. When you asked for transparency, he accused you of invading his privacy. Now he wants your signature near a business loan. She leaned forward. You may eventually decide there are explanations you can live with. But caution is not overreaction. Before I left, she asked one more question. Does Daniel have access to your home office? Yes. Move your personal financial records. I drove home with an empty storage box in the back seat. Daniel did not return until after dinner. Heard his truck pull into the driveway while I was upstairs gathering tax returns, insurance policies, the prenup, and the deed to the house. Placed everything in the storage box and slid it into the guest room closet. Daniel called from downstairs. Claire? In here. He appeared in the doorway holding a garment bag from the dry cleaner. I need to grab clothes for tomorrow. He opened the closet and stopped. What's in the box? Personal documents. Why are they in here? I'm organizing. He studied me. Did you talk to a lawyer? It was too precise a question. What makes you ask that? You've been acting strange. I slept alone on my wedding night. Strange seems appropriate. He hung his suit in the closet. My mother thinks Anna is putting ideas in your head. My daughter doesn't control me. She's never liked me. She liked you enough to stand beside us when we got married. She's protective. Yes. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed. I don't want to fight. Then tell me why you need the loan. His gaze dropped. The business had a difficult quarter. How difficult? We lost 2 commercial contracts. Material costs increased. A developer is late paying us. Numbers, Daniel. He exhaled. We're carrying about $180,000 in short-term debt. I felt my pulse in my throat. His financial disclosure from 6 months earlier had listed less than $40,000 in business debt. How did it grow that much? It's complicated. Try. We expanded too fast. You told me the new equipment was paid for. It will be, once receivables come in. That isn't the same thing. I didn't lie. You allowed me to believe something untrue. His eyes flashed. Every business has debt. Does your mother know? He looked away. That was answer enough. How much of her money is involved? She invested in the expansion. How much? $75,000. Helen's husband had died 8 years earlier, leaving her their house and a modest retirement income. She guarded money carefully. I could not imagine her investing that amount without expecting protection. Is her house collateral? No, the answer came after a pause. Daniel. It's not collateral yet. The room seemed to tilt. What does that mean? The bank suggested consolidating everything. Mom may take a home equity loan. If you and I guaranteed the business line together, she wouldn't have to. So your mother's plan is for my house to replace hers. That is not what I said. It's exactly what you said. He stood. I'm trying to protect my mother. By risking my home. Our home. No, I said quietly. My home. The prenup is very clear. Pain crossed his face, and for 1 second I almost reached for him. Then he said, this is why I didn't want a prenup. I stared at him. You insisted the prenup was a sign that neither of us cared about the other's money. I agreed because it mattered to you. It mattered to both of us. Apparently not equally. He left the room and slammed the door behind him. I stood alone beside the box of documents. The bottom of the stack was Daniel's financial disclosure. Opened it. His company debt, as of 6 months earlier, was listed at $38,000. Helen's investment was not mentioned, neither was any personal guarantee. Carried the papers downstairs and locked them in the trunk of my car. On Tuesday morning, Daniel left before sunrise. A florist delivered a vase of white roses with a card. I chose you. I'm sorry I failed to show it. Let's fix this. Love, Daniel. I read the message twice. Then I called his office to ask whether he would be home for dinner. Sarah Coleman, the company bookkeeper, answered. Sarah was in her late 50s, practical and quiet. I had met her at company Christmas parties and once helped her recover from a knee replacement. Claire, she said. Congratulations. The wedding was beautiful. Thank you. Is Daniel available? A pause. He's out meeting with Rebecca. My hand tightened around the phone. Do you know where? I think they're at the Riverside project. The remodel in Dublin? No, the condominium. What condominium? Another pause. I'm sorry. I assumed you knew. Knew what? Sarah lowered her voice. Mercer Millwork has been renovating Rebecca's condo. I sat down. Is she a client? I really shouldn't, Sarah. I'm not asking you to disclose company records. I'm asking whether my husband's company is being paid to renovate another woman's home. Silence. Not exactly, she said. What does that mean? The charges have been going to business development. I closed my eyes. How long? Since January. 8 months. Thank you for telling me. Claire, I don't want to interfere. You didn't. Before she hung up, Sarah said, you may want to ask Daniel about the Franklin account. What is that? I've already said too much. The line went dead. I opened our joint bank statements. The Franklin account was not there. I searched Daniel's financial disclosure. Nothing. Then I remembered a stack of mail he had asked me to bring to his shop 2 weeks earlier. One envelope had been addressed to Mercer Millwork at a post office box in Franklin County. At the time, I thought nothing of it. Now I searched the Ohio Secretary of State's public business records. A company called Franklin Design Holdings had been registered 14 months earlier. The statutory agent was Rebecca Shaw. The mailing address was the same post office box Daniel used. My phone rang. Daniel. I let it ring until voicemail. Claire, I'm going to be late. We're dealing with a project issue. Don't wait for dinner. I listened again, then I called Evelyn. Can you meet me at my house tonight? What happened? I found something. Evelyn arrived at 7 carrying Thai food and a legal pad. Anna came 10 minutes later after I told her only that I needed support, sat around the kitchen table while I explained the condo renovation and Franklin Design Holdings. Anna searched the company name on her laptop. There's almost nothing online. It may just be a shell for a design business, Evelyn said. That isn't automatically improper. It uses Daniel's post office box. Also not proof. I know. Evelyn nodded approvingly. That sentence will save you from many bad decisions. Anna frowned at the screen. Rebecca's social media says she launched a private design studio last year. I looked at photographs of elegant kitchens, fabric samples, and Rebecca smiling in unfinished rooms. One image had been posted 3 months earlier. Rebecca stood inside a condo holding a sledgehammer. Daniel was behind her, one hand around her waist. The caption read, building something beautiful with the one person who has always believed in me. I felt Anna watching me. Mom? I'm all right. I wasn't, but pain did not mean helplessness. Evelyn examined the photograph. This proves closeness, not an affair. Would you let your husband pose like that with his former fiancée? No, Evelyn said. And he would not be alive long enough to explain it. Anna gave a startled laugh. The sound broke the pressure in the room. Then a notification appeared on my phone. Daniel had sent me a calendar invitation. Thursday, 10 a.m., First Capital Bank, business credit review. Under the notes, he had written, bring identification and property information. Evelyn's face hardened. Decline it. I did. 20 seconds later, Daniel called. What are you doing? I'm not attending the bank meeting. We discussed this. You informed me. Claire, I need you there. No, this loan keeps the company alive. Then explain Franklin Design Holdings. Silence. When Daniel answered, his voice was careful. Where did you hear that name? It's public information. It's Rebecca's company. Why does it use your post office box? We helped her set it up. Who is we? My accountant and me. Why? She brings us clients. It made sense to create a formal partnership. Do you own part of it? No. Did you finance it? Another pause. Some startup expenses. How much? I don't have the number in front of me. Try. Maybe $30,000. My stomach clenched. You loaned Rebecca $30,000 while your company was failing? It wasn't failing then. You renovated her condo without charging her. That's marketing. You left our wedding to spend the night there. She was sick. You lied about where you were. I told you I took her home. Not until I asked. Daniel lowered his voice. Who have you been talking to? That's what concerns you? Someone is trying to make this look worse than it is. You are making it look worse. I love you. The words came suddenly. They still had power. That was the humiliating part. I loved him too. Love does not disappear the moment the truth arrives. Sometimes it stays and watches while everything else collapses. Then come home, I said. Show me your phone, the Franklin records, the loan documents, and every payment involving Rebecca. I can't share confidential business information. Then I won't share my house. His breathing changed. You're going to let 23 people lose their jobs because you're jealous? No. You put those jobs at risk. I'm refusing to put my home beside them. You're my wife. For 3 days. That's a cruel thing to say. No, Daniel. Cruel was leaving me in a hotel room while you held another woman's hand. I ended the call. My hands shook afterward. Anna reached for them. You don't have to stay in this house tonight. Yes, I said. I do. I needed to see what Daniel did next. He came home shortly before midnight, heard him moving through the kitchen, opening cabinets, walking from room to room. He did not come upstairs. At 1 in the morning, I went down for water. Daniel was asleep on the couch with his phone on his chest. A second phone rested on the coffee table. It was smaller, older, and enclosed in a black case. I stopped. I had never seen it before. The screen lit up. Rebecca, you said the wedding wouldn't change anything. Why are you panicking now? My heart began to pound. The phone required a passcode. I did not try to guess it. Photographed the message with my own phone, then walked back upstairs. The next morning, the second phone was gone. Daniel left a note near the coffee maker. We'll talk tonight. Please don't make any decisions until then. I placed the note inside the folder with my documents. At 10, I requested a copy of my credit report. There were no unfamiliar accounts. At 11, I redirected my physical therapy practice distributions to my individual bank account. At noon, I asked the bank to change our joint account so no large transfer could occur without notification. At 1, I canceled the bank meeting personally. The loan officer, a man named Mr. Talbot, sounded confused. Mr. Mercer indicated you planned to provide a limited guarantee. I do not. I understand. Did he provide any documents bearing my signature? No. The meeting was intended to discuss options. Relief made me dizzy, thank you. After the call, I sat alone in my office. Through the glass wall, I could see patients moving between treatment rooms. One elderly man practiced walking after a hip replacement while his wife followed 3 steps behind, holding his coat. For years, I had taught people that healing required honest measurement. You could not recover strength by pretending weakness was not there. You could not restore movement while refusing to identify pain, yet I had built my relationship with Daniel around avoidance. The first time Rebecca interrupted our anniversary dinner, I accepted that she had a client emergency. When Daniel spent Christmas morning repairing a pipe in her studio, I told myself he was generous. When Helen placed Rebecca beside Daniel in family photographs, I stepped aside to avoid appearing insecure. Each incident had seemed too small to justify a confrontation. Together, they formed a marriage I should have seen before the wedding. Daniel did not come home that night. At 8:30, he texted, staying at the shop. We both need space. At 9:12, Rebecca posted a photograph from a downtown bar. Only 2 glasses were visible. 1 contained bourbon with a single square ice cube. Daniel always drank bourbon that way. I saved the image. Then I turned off my phone and slept for 7 uninterrupted hours. Thursday morning was supposed to be the bank meeting. At 10:15, Daniel called 6 times. At 10:30, Helen called. At 10:40, she appeared at my front door. She wore navy slacks, a cream blouse, and the expression of a woman arriving to correct an employee. I let her in. You canceled the meeting, she said. Yes. Without discussing it with Daniel. I discussed it with him. You refused to listen. I listened carefully. Helen placed her purse on the kitchen island. Daniel's business is going through a temporary difficulty. He concealed the size of that difficulty. He didn't want to burden you before the wedding. He wanted to burden me after it. Her lips thinned. This cynicism is beneath you. Did you know he was financing Rebecca's company? Helen glanced away. That was enough. How much did you know? Rebecca has helped Daniel's business for years. Did you know about the condo? It's an investment. For whom? For the future. Whose future? Helen walked to the window. You don't understand Daniel and Rebecca's history. I understand they were engaged. Rebecca left because her father became ill. Daniel married someone else on the rebound. It lasted less than 2 years. I know. What you don't know is that Daniel never stopped feeling responsible for her. Responsible is not the same as faithful. Helen turned sharply. Nothing happened. You don't know that. I know my son. No. You protect your son. I protected him because he has spent his life protecting everyone else. Especially Rebecca. She was practically family. Then why wasn't she invited to the wedding? Helen hesitated. Already knew the answer because Daniel knew I would object. Because he wanted one peaceful day. He gave me less than 6 hours. Helen picked up her purse. If the company fails, people will suffer. Daniel will lose everything he built. I may lose the money I invested. I'm sorry. You can prevent it. No. I can delay the consequences by transferring the risk to myself. You have no mortgage. Your practice is successful. You could secure the loan without changing your lifestyle. The bluntness of it stunned me. That was the plan? It was an option. Before the wedding? Helen looked at me and said nothing. I felt something inside me settle, not break, settle, like dust after a wall comes down. Did Daniel marry me for my house? Don't be ridiculous. He loves you. That isn't an answer. Adults marry for many reasons. I walked to the door and opened it. Helen stared at me. You're throwing away your marriage because a frightened woman needed help. No, I said. I'm examining my marriage because my husband, his mother, and his former fiancé made financial plans involving me without my knowledge. If you abandon him now, he will never forgive you. I looked at the woman who believed my greatest fear should be losing access to her son. Helen, forgiveness is not the thing I'm worried about. After she left, I called Evelyn. I'm ready. To file? Yes. She was quiet for a moment. Are you sure? No, I said. But I'm certain I cannot stay without betraying myself. That is often the only certainty people get. We arranged to meet the next morning. That afternoon, I went into Daniel's home office to collect the printer I had purchased for my practice. The desk drawers were locked, and I left them alone. As I lifted the printer cable, my hand knocked a small digital recorder from the shelf, recognized it. Daniel used the recorder to dictate measurements and project notes while driving. He often forgot to turn it off. The screen showed one saved recording from Saturday night, the night of our wedding, but very still playing. It felt like crossing a line. Then I remembered the second phone, the loan meeting, and Helen's statement that adults married for many reasons. Pressed play. At first, there was only movement and the hum of Daniel's truck, then his voice. She canceled the honeymoon. Rebecca answered from nearby. Because you came to me? Because she wants to make a point. The recording crackled. You should go back, Rebecca said. I can't deal with another interrogation. You married her, Daniel. I know what I did. Do you? A door closed. Rebecca's voice became clearer. You looked happy at the wedding. I was happy. Then what am I? Daniel did not answer immediately. Finally, he said, You're the person I couldn't leave alone. And Claire? She's the person who makes my life work. The words entered me quietly. That made them worse. Rebecca laughed once, without humor. So she gets the house, and I get emergencies. Don't do this. You said the marriage wouldn't change the business plan. It won't. Will she sign? She will when she understands the stakes. She doesn't trust me. She doesn't have to trust you. She has to trust you. Daniel was silent. Then he said, Claire believes in marriage. Once she calms down, she'll do what's necessary. I stopped the recording. My hand was numb. For several minutes, I could hear nothing but the air conditioner turning on and off. Then I forced myself to continue. Rebecca was speaking. What happens after the loan? We stabilize the shop. Franklin starts receiving the design contracts directly. You manage clients. I handle production. And us? Becca. I need an answer. I love Claire. The words hurt more than I expected. Then he continued, but I've never known how to stop taking care of you. That isn't love? I don't know what it is. You left your wedding bed. I know. Does she know you kissed me? My vision blurred. Daniel's voice dropped. It shouldn't have happened. But it did. Yes. Are you going to tell her? No, then go home. The recording continued with movement, a door, and Daniel breathing heavily in the truck. Near the end, he spoke aloud to himself, she'll forgive me. I placed the recorder on the desk. That was the major mistake Daniel made, not the kiss, not the loan, not even leaving. Believed forgiveness was something I produced automatically, like heat from a furnace. He had seen me forgive delays, omissions, cancelled plans, divided loyalties, and small humiliations. He mistook my patience for a lack of limits. I copied the recording to my computer and sent it to Evelyn. Then I sat on the office floor and cried, did not scream, did not throw the recorder against the wall. I cried for the wedding I had planned, for the vows I had believed, and for the woman I had been 4 days earlier. Most of all, I cried because Daniel loved me. If he had never loved me, leaving would have been simple, but he loved me in the careless way some people love a home. They appreciate its warmth, depend on its shelter, and assume it will remain standing no matter what damage they cause inside it. When the tears stopped, I washed my face, then I began making a list: documents, medication, clothing, personal photographs. My grandmother's jewelry. Anna's childhood keepsakes, business records, laptop, passport, the blue ceramic bowl my mother made before arthritis took the strength from her hands. Did not list furniture. Furniture could be replaced. On Friday morning, I signed the divorce filing in Evelyn's office. Because Daniel and I had been married less than a week, there were fewer shared issues than in a long marriage. The prenup protected our separate property. There were no children together. We had not purchased real estate jointly. The wedding had created emotional confusion, not financial complexity. Evelyn looked over the documents. Once he is served, he will know. I don't want him served until Monday. You're leaving? Yes. Where? Anna's friend has a furnished apartment in Cincinnati. She's working overseas for 3 months. That is far enough to create space and close enough to handle the case. Only you and Anna will know. Evelyn studied me. Are you afraid of him? No. I'm afraid I'll let him talk me out of trusting what I heard. She nodded. That is still a reason to create distance. I spent Friday moving essential belongings into Anna's car and a rented storage unit, told the clinic staff I would work remotely for several weeks while our senior therapist managed daily operations, forwarded my mail. I changed the alarm code. Because Daniel legally lived in the house, I did not lock him out. Instead, I prepared to leave the property temporarily while the attorneys addressed occupancy. Every decision felt strangely ordinary: boxes, labels, receipts, keys. The end of my marriage did not look like a dramatic movie scene. It looked like a woman deciding which winter coat she might need before October. Daniel texted throughout the day, "Need to talk. Sorry about yesterday. Mom shouldn't have come over. I canceled the Franklin transfer. Please answer." I did not respond that evening. Rebecca called me. I almost ignored the unfamiliar number. "Claire," she said. I recognized her voice from the recording. "Yes. This is Rebecca Shaw." "I know." Silence stretched between us. "I think we should talk." "I don't. I'm not trying to hurt you. You called my husband on our wedding night. I was in the hospital. You had been discharged before he took you home. He told you?" "Not everything." Rebecca inhaled. "I made a mistake." "Which one?" She did not answer the phone call. I asked. "The kiss? The company? The condo?" Her breathing stopped. "How do you know about Franklin?" "Enough. Daniel said you didn't know." "That seems to be a sentence he says often." Rebecca's voice changed. Less defensive. More frightened, has he told you where the money came from? His company. No, I stood beside a half-packed box. Then where? I thought it came from Helen. How much? 50,000 for the business, plus renovation costs. Daniel had admitted only 30. Did you sign a loan agreement? No. Daniel said we'd formalize everything after the bank approved the credit line. With my guarantee. I didn't know it was your guarantee. I did not believe her completely, but I believed she had not understood all of it. What did he tell you? That you wanted to invest in the company after the wedding. That Franklin would become a design division. That you preferred keeping your name off it until the financing was done. I closed my eyes. That is not true. I know that now. Why? Because he called me this morning. He said you were being irrational and might try to sabotage the loan. He asked me to say the renovation was a standard client project if the bank contacted me. Rebecca's voice shook. I won't lie to a bank. But you were willing to lie to me. Silence. Yes, she said finally. I was. The honesty surprised me. Why did you call him that night? Because I knew he would come. That answer hurt, but it was real. I wanted proof, she continued. He kept saying he loved you but that what we had was different. I thought if he came, it meant he had chosen me. And did it? No, what did it mean? That he wanted both of us to keep needing him. I sat on the edge of the bed. For the first time, I saw Daniel's behavior from outside the competition he had created. Had made Rebecca feel abandoned unless she summoned him, had made me feel unreasonable whenever I objected, was not simply choosing one woman over another, was arranging both women around his need to be indispensable. Rebecca spoke again. I'm leaving Franklin. That's your decision. I'll send you the messages about the financing. Why? Because I don't want my name attached to fraud. I'm not promising to protect you. I understand. And I'm not absolving you. I understand that too. An hour later, an email arrived containing screenshots. Daniel telling Rebecca that my property could secure enough credit to save Mercer Millwork and fund Franklin. Daniel saying Helen believed I would agree once the wedding was over. Daniel promising that Rebecca would receive a formal ownership share after financing. Daniel writing, Claire needs time to adjust. She sees betrayal where there is only history. The final message had been sent 2 days before our wedding. Once we're married, she won't walk away over money. I forwarded everything to Evelyn, then I finished packing. Saturday morning marked 1 week since the wedding. Daniel returned at 8. His truck entered the driveway while Anna and I were loading the last 2 boxes. Got out before the engine stopped. What is this? Anna closed the trunk. I stood beside the front steps. I'm leaving. Daniel looked from me to the boxes. For how long? I don't know. His face lost color. Claire, please. Anna moved closer to me. Daniel raised both hands. I'm not here to fight. I need 5 minutes. You've had a week. I made terrible decisions. Yes. I kissed her. I know. His eyes widened. How? It doesn't matter. It does. No. The kiss matters. How I learned about it does not. He looked toward Anna. Can we talk privately? No, I said. Pain crossed his face. I love you. I know. You know? That's part of the problem. He stared at me. I don't understand. You love me, but you still used me. You love me, but you expected me to finance the life you were building with another woman. You love me, but when she asked you to prove she mattered, you left our wedding bed. I wasn't building a life with her. Then what was Franklin? A business arrangement that got out of control. What was the condo? She needed a place to live and work. What was the kiss? His mouth opened, then closed. I continued, what was the secret phone? He looked away. What was telling her our marriage wouldn't change anything? How much do you know? Enough to stop asking questions. Daniel walked toward me. Anna stepped between us. He stopped. I never planned to leave you, he said. That is not comforting. It should be. You thought you could keep me as your wife, my home as your collateral, Rebecca as your unfinished love story, and your mother as the person who made excuses for all of it. That's not fair. It is exact. His eyes filled with tears, but he did not cry. I panicked. The company was failing. Mom put in her savings. Rebecca had brought us contracts. Everyone depended on me. So you decided I should depend on incomplete information. I was going to tell you. After the wedding. Yes. After I became emotionally invested in making the marriage work. He looked down. Yes. The admission landed more heavily than another lie would have. Removed my wedding ring. Daniel watched me place it on the brick ledge beside the front door. Claire, don't. You said I would forgive you. His head lifted sharply. I never said that. You did. When? When you thought no one could hear you. Fear entered his face. The recorder, he whispered. I said nothing. He closed his eyes. I didn't know it was on. I know. People say things when they're upset. You were not upset when you said I made your life work. That was true. I was your wife, Daniel. Not a system. I can fix this. No, I'll end Franklin. I'll never speak to Rebecca again. You should make those decisions because they are right, not because they will buy me back. What do you want me to do? Live with what you chose. His face crumpled then, not dramatically, but like a structure losing its support one beam at a time. Where are you going? I'm not telling you. You can't disappear. I can. We're married. For 1 week. That week meant something to me. It meant something to me too. That's why I have to leave before you teach me it meant nothing. I got into Anna's car. Daniel stood in the driveway as we pulled away. I in the side mirror. He became smaller, then vanished behind the trees. I turned off my phone before we reached the highway. For the next 3 days, Daniel did not know where I was. Anna later told me he called her 27 times. He called Evelyn, my clinic, my neighbors, and my former husband. He drove to the airport and asked whether I had boarded a flight. He contacted hospitals. He called the Columbus police, who told him that an adult woman had the right to leave voluntarily. After an officer confirmed through Evelyn that I was safe, there was nothing more they could do. On Monday, Daniel was served with divorce papers at Mercer Millwork. Sarah, the bookkeeper, later told me he read the first page twice, walked into his office, and closed the door. He remained there until after midnight, and why disappearance broke the pattern he had relied upon, was not in the kitchen waiting for an explanation, was not answering messages, was not helping him interpret his own behavior. Kindly, without me, Daniel had to hear the silence after his excuses. On the 4th day, Evelyn forwarded an email from him. Please ask Claire to meet me. I will agree to every financial condition. I will sign the house away. I will close Franklin. I will go to counseling. I need one conversation. Evelyn asked whether I wanted to respond. Said no. The apartment in Cincinnati belonged to a young physician working in Scotland. It was small, bright, and nearly anonymous. The furniture had been chosen by someone else. The walls held framed photographs of mountains I had never seen. At first, the unfamiliarity frightened me. Then it became relief. A room contained a memory of Daniel, worked from a narrow desk near the window. I walked every evening. I ate dinner when I was hungry rather than waiting for headlights in a driveway. The pain did not disappear. Some mornings, I woke reaching toward the empty side of the bed. Some nights, I remembered Daniel dancing with me beneath strings of white lights at our wedding. He had held my face and whispered, "I've waited my whole life for a love that feels like home." I believed he had meant it. Maybe he had. That was the hardest truth. People can mean beautiful things while doing terrible ones. 2 weeks after I left, Evelyn called. Daniel's attorney proposed mediation. So soon? The company's lender has frozen the pending credit application. Rebecca withdrew from Franklin and sent a letter stating she will not participate in any representations involving you. What happens to the business? That is not your legal responsibility. I know. I'm asking. Evelyn sighed. They're in trouble. Daniel may have to sell equipment or bring in an investor. And Helen? She has been calling my office. I'm sorry. Don't be. My receptionist enjoys telling her no. I smiled for the first time that day. Daniel wants the mediation at his mother's house, Evelyn continued. No, I assumed. He wants family pressure. His attorney says Helen is recovering from a blood pressure episode. Is she hospitalized? No, then we meet at your office. A week later, Helen sent Anna a message. Your mother is destroying a good man over one mistake. Please help her remember that marriage requires sacrifice. Anna forwarded it to me without replying, stared at the word sacrifice. For women of Helen's generation, sacrifice had often been presented as proof of love. But a sacrifice chosen freely was not the same as a loss assigned by someone else. Had been expected to risk my house, absorb humiliation, and forgive deception so Daniel could remain the generous man in everyone's story. Why suffering would have preserved his identity. My refusal exposed it. The mediation took place 5 weeks after the wedding. Returned to Columbus the night before and stayed with Anna. The next morning, I wore navy pants, a white blouse, and the pearl earrings from my wedding day. Considered leaving them behind. Then I decided Daniel did not own the memory of who I had been when I wore them. Evelyn's conference room overlooked a busy intersection. Cars moved below us, stopping and starting with the light. Daniel arrived with his attorney, a tired-looking man named Charles Brenner. Helen came with them, though she was not a party to the divorce. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Charles cleared his throat. Mrs. Mercer has relevant financial information concerning her investment. I'm sure she does, Evelyn said. Daniel looked thinner. He wore the charcoal suit from our rehearsal dinner. When he saw me, he stood too quickly and knocked his knee against the table. Claire. I sat across from him. Helen did not greet me. Charles began with a calm explanation of mediation and confidentiality. Then he presented Daniel's proposal. Daniel would waive any claim to my house, practice, retirement, and personal property. The prenup already required that, would assume responsibility for the joint credit card. Most of the balance consisted of wedding and honeymoon expenses, would reimburse my half of the remaining wedding invoices, would agree to counseling before either of us pursued final dissolution. That last item is not a financial term, Evelyn said. It is the most important one. Daniel replied. I looked at him. You still think this is a negotiation? I think our marriage deserves more than 1 week. Our marriage received 1 week. Your relationship with Rebecca received years. It's over. Because she left Franklin? His face tightened. Because I finally understood what I was doing. Helen shifted beside him. Daniel has taken full responsibility. No, he hasn't, I said. I have, Daniel insisted. I lied about the financing. I kissed Rebecca. I left you alone. I let my mother interfere. Helen's head turned sharply. Daniel continued. I thought I was helping everyone. I told myself that if the company survived, I could make everything right later. And Rebecca? I wanted to feel needed. The answer surprised me. He looked down at his hands. When her father got sick years ago, I became the person she called. After he died, she kept calling. Even when I was married to someone else. Even after I met you. Why didn't you stop? Because with Rebecca, I was always rescuing someone. With you, I was just a man. His voice broke slightly. You didn't need saving. You had your home, your work, Anna, your friends. I loved that about you, but part of me was terrified you would realize you didn't need me. So you created a situation where my love had to be proved financially. He nodded once. I think so. Helen placed a hand on his arm. Daniel, you're being too hard on yourself. He pulled his arm away. No, Mom. I'm not. It was the first time I had seen him refuse her comfort. For a moment, the man I had loved was visible again. Then Helen turned to me. He has explained himself. What more do you want? Nothing. She frowned. You cannot mean that. I mean, I don't want anything more from him. Daniel's face went pale. Claire. Helen leaned forward. Your withdrawal has already cost the company the bank loan. Rebecca has pulled 3 contracts. Daniel may have to close the shop. I did not withdraw anything. I declined to provide something I never promised. You knew the business mattered to him. Yes. 23 employees may lose their jobs. Daniel looked at his mother. Stop. But Helen continued, you have more than enough security. You could have saved the business without losing a thing. I opened the folder in front of me. That is not true. I placed copies of the proposed loan documents on the table. The guarantee would have placed a lien against my house up to $300,000. Interest and fees could have increased the exposure. Helen glanced at the papers. These were preliminary. You told me I could secure the loan without changing my lifestyle. You probably could have. That is not the same as without risk. Daniel closed his eyes, placed a second set of documents on the table. These are messages between Daniel and Rebecca discussing Franklin Design Holdings. They show that Daniel planned to direct future contracts into a company Rebecca controlled after using the credit line to stabilize Mercer Millwork. Charles looked at Daniel. I have not seen these. Daniel stared at the table. Helen's voice sharpened. Where did you get private messages? Rebecca provided them. That silenced the room. Daniel looked up. She sent them to you? Yes. When? Before I left. He leaned back as though I had struck him. Helen recovered first. That woman has always been unstable. No, I said. She made selfish choices. So did Daniel. But neither of them made mine. I placed one final document on the table. It was an email Daniel had sent to Helen 3 weeks before the wedding. Rebecca had included it because Daniel forwarded part of the exchange to her. Claire may resist the guarantee at first. Once we're married, remind her that family protects family. She won't let the company fail if she understands what it would do to all of us. Helen read the page. Her face became rigid. You invaded a private family conversation. I was the subject of the conversation. You were about to become part of this family. No, I said. I was about to become an asset available to it. Daniel covered his mouth with one hand. Claire, I'm sorry. I believe you. He lowered his hand. You do? Yes. I believe you are sorry. Hope flickered across his face. I continued, but sorrow is not repair. Understanding why you hurt me does not require me to remain available for you to hurt again. I would never do it again. You cannot promise that after 5 weeks of insight. Then give me time to prove it. You are asking me to risk more years because you are afraid of losing what you had. I have already lost it. The room became quiet outside. A bus stopped at the intersection. Passengers stepped off, each moving toward a different destination. Daniel's voice was barely audible. When I came home and you were gone, I thought something had happened to you. Something did. I couldn't breathe in that house. I couldn't breathe in the marriage. He pressed his fingertips against the table. I walked through every room. Your clothes were gone. Your books were gone. The blue bowl from the dining room was gone. My mother made it. I know. You once said you didn't like it. I was wrong. The simplicity of the statement hurt more than his earlier apologies. Had noticed the bowl only after it disappeared. Maybe that was what had happened with me. He'd valued my presence as background, steady, useful, familiar. My absence forced him to see the shape I had occupied. I keep thinking about that morning, he said. You were making coffee. I thought you had forgiven me already. I had not even understood what happened. I should have stayed. Yes. I should have chosen you. Yes. I'm choosing you now. No, I said. You are choosing the absence of consequences. His eyes filled. This time, one tear moved down his cheek. Helen stood abruptly. This is cruel. Daniel turned toward her. Sit down, Mom. She stared at him. You are humiliating yourself for a woman who abandoned you. I abandoned her first. Helen's mouth opened. Daniel's voice strengthened. At the hotel. At Rebecca's condo. In every conversation where I let you treat Claire's money as the solution to my mistakes. Everything I did was for you. That's what I kept telling myself too. For the first time, Helen had no answer. Daniel looked back at me. I'll agree to the divorce terms. I nodded, but I need to ask one thing. I waited. Was any of it real to you? The question surprised me. Our relationship? He nodded. Yes, I said. That is why I am ending it before the betrayal becomes the only thing I remember. He looked down. Charles cleared his throat and began discussing the remaining terms. The confrontation was over. There was no dramatic confession beyond what had already been said. No one collapsed. No one begged on their knees. There was only paperwork, silence, and the slow recognition that preparation had given me something anger never could. Choice. The divorce took 8 months. Daniel resisted counseling language but not the financial terms. The prenup held. I kept my house, practice, retirement accounts, and personal property. Daniel kept Mercer Millwork and its debts. Without my guarantee, the bank declined the new credit line. Daniel sold 2 pieces of equipment, closed the least profitable division, and laid off 8 employees. The remaining workers agreed to reduced hours while he negotiated payment plans with suppliers. Helen lost most of her $75,000 investment. She did not lose her house, though she sold a vacation timeshare in Florida and used the money to reduce her home equity debt. She never apologized to me. 3 months after mediation, she sent a handwritten letter. I hope someday you understand that mothers do difficult things for their children. Did not respond. Rebecca dissolved Franklin Design Holdings. She sold the renovated condo and moved to Indianapolis, where her sister lived. Before leaving, she sent one final email. I'm sorry I needed him to choose me. I'm sorrier that I knew choosing me meant humiliating you. I hope we both learn not to mistake being chosen for being loved. Saved the message but did not answer. Some apologies deserve acknowledgement, others are simply part of the apologizer's work. Daniel began therapy. I knew because he mentioned it during our final court hearing. Not to persuade me but as part of a quiet conversation in the hallway. He had also taken a salaried position with a larger cabinet manufacturer after selling Mercer Millwork's remaining assets to his foreman. I'm not anyone's rescuer anymore, he said. How does that feel? Empty some days. That may not be a bad place to begin. He nodded. He wore no wedding ring. Neither did I. I loved you badly, he said. I looked at him. Yes. I thought love was how much people needed me. I know. You were the only person who loved me without needing to be rescued. That frightened you. It still does. The courtroom door opened, and Evelyn called my name. Daniel stepped aside. Claire? I turned. I'm sorry I made you disappear. I thought about the hotel room, the packed boxes, the anonymous apartment, and the months I spent rebuilding trust in my own judgment. You didn't make me disappear, I said. You made me realize I had been disappearing for years. Then I walked into the courtroom. The judge signed the final decree. 23 minutes later, a year after the wedding, I returned to Charleston alone. For months, I had avoided the city because it belonged to the honeymoon that never happened. Then one morning, I understood that a place could not betray me. I booked the same small hotel near the Battery, walked beneath live oaks and ate shrimp and grits at the restaurant Daniel had chosen. I visited a bookstore and bought a novel too long to finish during the trip. On the final evening, I sat on a bench facing the harbor. Anna called. How does it feel? Peaceful. Lonely? A little. Do you regret going? No. Do you regret marrying him? I watched a sailboat move across the water. For a long time, I had wanted to erase the wedding. To imagine that wisdom would have protected me from loving the wrong person. But wisdom is not the absence of mistakes. Sometimes it is what remains after illusion is gone. I regret ignoring what I knew before I married him, I said. But I don't regret learning that I can leave. Anna was quiet. Then she said, I'm proud of you. The sun had begun to lower, turning the water gold. After we ended the call, I removed the pearl earrings I had worn on my wedding day and held them in my palm. Had worn them at mediation, in court, and now beside the harbor. They no longer reminded me only of Daniel. They reminded me of the woman sitting alone in a hotel suite at dawn, watching a blue dot move across a screen. She had been hurt, she had been frightened, but she had also been awake. Put the earrings back on. Then I stood and walked toward the lights of the city, carrying nothing that did not belong to me.
For more exciting content, please subscribe and follow us.